Hello and welcome to Whittle Waffle episode 3, The Lockdown. How you all doing? We're doing fine, in case you were wondering. There's me, the husband, the little one and the middle one at home, the big ones, at our dad's. The change in location is because of all of the people in my house, so I'm hiding up in the oldest girl's very messy bedroom. She's not the messy one. The middle one is the messy one, and she keeps coming and hanging out in here because she's messed her bedroom up. You don't need to know this. Anyway, we're all doing fine. We have plenty of bog roll. We haven't had to be honest with you, we haven't had a chance to get bored yet because both me and Mark are still working from home. I'm on my lunch hour right now, and trying to work and entertain a 2-year-old is so hard that we just don't stop. We're trying to take turns. We're trying to if anyone Mark tends to have quite a lot of meetings, so he gets those and then I run around after her, and then I have a block of time where I frantically do stuff. So we haven't had a chance to get bored, and we haven't had a chance to make a routine, so it's just all go. So actually I'm exhausted all of the time. I haven't had a chance to get bored enough to clean cupboards or any extra reading time. In fact, there's less reading time because there's no commute. There's less knitting time because there's no commute, and lunch times at work when I get to knit instead of just feed everybody else. And so yeah, we're doing, like I say, good, but we don't have any of those things that people are starting to complain about getting bored and stuff. It's just crazy. It's just crazy here. On the plus side, we live right by the sea, so for our daily exercise we can get out and get right down to the sea, and that's making a big difference to us. Really is my happy place and makes me happy, so I'm really glad about that. I've got quite a lot to talk about, but I haven't really made any good notes, so I'll do my best. We're going to do the usual, sort of. So I'm going to do things that I've read, things that I've listened to, and instead of any other geeky stuff, I've actually asked for questions on Facebook and Twitter, and I have a few, so I'll see if I can get through those. And then I've got some knitting and spinning. Well, I haven't got spinning, but I'm going to talk about it. Anyway, we'll just crack on with it. Last time I talked to you a little bit about the book I was reading, which was The River King by Alice Hoffman, and how much there's dust particles, sorry, how much I love Alice Hoffman and I love her writing style. And it was a reread, and I'd forgotten how traumatic that book was. At the beginning I was all, oh, the wonderful descriptions and the moodiness and the wonder, and I'd forgotten that it gets quite awfully traumatic about halfway through, and also it's one of those books that doesn't wrap everything up neatly at the end in a bow, and it just leaves little bits of it open for you to make your own mind up. And actually I really like that. Sometimes, not all the time, sometimes you want to just get wrapped at the end, don't you, and all the threads neatly tied, and that wasn't quite the case. But it's a beautifully written book, and it's so desperately sad as well that if you're in any way feeling sad, please don't read it. Wait until you're in a good place. But it's a wonderful, sad, beautiful book, probably aimed at young adults, to be honest with you as well. Not that I think there should be distinctions. You should just read what you want to read, I reckon, except for The Shining. Or that Dean Koontz book that has the rhesus monkeys in, that I still have nightmares about, and it wasn't even that scary. There's just this book. It's a book. Somebody Snow, Christopher Snow, Stuart Tibbles will know. Christopher Snow, and I think he has this disease where he can't go out during the day, and he's living near a military testing site. So anyway, one day he goes into this house, and the house is full of rhesus monkeys, and they're all just looking at him, and the air of tension and terror just built that I actually had to shut the book. Still can't look at a rhesus monkey. Thanks, Dean Koontz. What was I talking about? The Alice Hoffman book. Yeah, so just if you really recommended, but you know, don't be in a bad place, otherwise bring you down. But beautiful at the same time. The other exciting thing that happened is my 2000 AD subscription came through, and I got these. Oh, that's the back. Wonderful, wonderful stuff. I'm very excited about it. I have read both of them, of course I have. I'll briefly go through. I think this were the Judge Dredd in the first one. There's this awesome panel I'm going to show you of a lawn master stuck in a tree. Can you see it? Sunshine, sunshine. That amused us very much. Though I didn't quite understand the ending of it, of this this story. I didn't quite get where he was at the end. Maybe it's just me being thick, not quite back into the swing of things. I really very much enjoying the Sinister Dexter, which is basically just Finney being chased through a what's it called, like a fair. Someone trying to kill him. It's fantastic. It's really funny. So I really enjoyed that, and I'm getting to grips with the other strips. I'll say that. So there's a new Dredd started in Prog 2174. Lovely William Simpson cover there, all pretty in that. So the Dredd is by Ian Edginton and Disraeli. Oh, and I just love it when these two are together anyway. It's fantastic, and it's so good and funny, and it's really nice to be reading new Dredd from a part one. So I'm super excited, and the punning lines at the bottom, guys, on fire, on fire. So yes, I'm so happy. I can't even tell you to be back in the prog zone, and I'll talk about it. I'm thinking that I'll do a, because I want to try and do this one every other week. Maybe I'll do one where I just talk about the prog and I'll go through it properly, like we used to do the way Flint still does for ECBT, but obviously a different take, because it's nice to get other people's opinions on stuff, isn't it? So I'm thinking about that. If you're interested in seeing that, let us know, and I'll maybe think about doing that. The other really exciting thing book-wise is, I'm not even sure this is geeky, but you know, my sister sent me a text the other day to say that this book had been re-released. It hasn't been released for a long time, long time. And this, what year did it come out? I'll see if it says. English translation. Can't find it. It says 1999. I don't believe that for a second. It's older than that. Because me and Kelly read it before that. Anyway, vintage classics, it says. It's not going to be from 1999, is it? Anyway, I'll find out. This book, which we both adored when we were kids, Private Keep Out by Gwen Grant. Absolutely wonderful, hilarious. The first sort of first-person diary type books, which are very big in children's and young adults books, but this one is just laugh out loud. Oh, 1978, there you go, 1978, that makes more sense. But what is awesome about this book and its follow-up, Knock and Wait, I had to order both. I got this one second hand. They're both about the same heroine. Is that they're northern working class people, and it's written in that vernacular, and it's just so wonderful, because obviously, like, a lot of children's stories are written not by working class people, and I think there's a real, me and my sister both, I think, have kept like a real love of that. Things like Adrian Mole and Gwen Grant, and I think it's the reason that I loved Tim and the Hidden People series so much when I was a kid, because although that wasn't northern, it was a working class little boy, you know, who was working in a grocer to save up to buy a bike, and we grew up on a council estate without much money, and it was representation, isn't it? It's why it matters. Seeing yourself in stories or putting yourself in that position. It's really hard to do when it's, you know, you don't recognise anything about the situation. So this one, which is written, it's sort of like, our Rose got hold of one of these comics once, and she said to our mum, and, you know, our Rose, and all that stuff. And it's lovely to see mum written, not mum or mom if you're in Brum or America. But these books are so good. And me and my sister, I think, are going to book club them. So if anybody is interested and wants to book club along with me and my sister, we're not starting it for a little bit, but I'll let you know. They're so good. They're so good. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. If you've ever read these books, let me know. I'm so excited. Not you, Kelly. I know you've read them. I'm so excited about this. So excited. Audio. You know how last time I said I wasn't really digging my Jim Butcher re-listen? I finished Ghost Story and I immediately started Cold Days. I got right back into it at the end and I was like, oh, I've gotten this. And actually I'm flying through this one and I'm enjoying it loads more. And I don't know why I got a bit bogged down in the last one. I don't know. I think it was that thing where I kept falling asleep and having to rewind it. Rewind. You know what I mean? It's not a thing now, is it? But you do. You go back, don't you? What is the correct term now? I don't know. I'm old. The exciting thing about the Jim Butcher, though, is that he has finally released a date for the new book. It's going to be called Peace Talks, and he did a YouTube video, and I'm going to do a massive spoiler if you haven't watched that video. If you want to watch it, pause, go watch it, unpause, because I'm going to do a huge spoiler. It's not just going to be one book, it's going to be two books. Two new books. You wait, what, 9 years? 8 years? It's been a long time. It's been a long time since we've seen a new Dresden Files. And now we're getting two. Oh, very excited. My book, try to see if Stephen wants to book club that one as well. If any of you fancy book club, and tell me. Very excited. Go and watch the video, the publicity video. It's a bit weird because they've done like a live action as if it was going to be a movie for the book, and I didn't know how I felt about it, to be honest with you. I don't know. Harry didn't look right. He's my most fancied fictional character. They're never going to get it right, ever. So, but yeah, I'm very excited. I'm very excited about. I keep looking down here because it's where my scribbled notes are. Sorry about it. Let's get to it then. Geeky questions. Was there anything else I wanted to say about the Jim Butcher thing? If you're not reading Dresden Files, it's pointless really talking to you about Cold Days now, because it's like book 15 or some ridiculous thing like that. So if you haven't read the first one, or the first 10, it's pointless telling you any, you know, it started off like a PI series, only with magic. Harry Dresden is a wizard, but by this point it's moved on so far from that. It's its own different thing, and there's not really anything like it. And although there's lots of elements pulled in from ordinary fantasy, like the Sidhe, the fairies, vampires, it's not really like how anybody else is doing it. So the vampire situation is really beautifully built, so that you have different forms of vampires. So there's the black coat, which are, yes, scary, nasty vampires. And the red coat, which are more like what you would think of, like a Dracula type, you know, can look beautiful, but inside are really nasty and evil and nasty, and nasty and evil and nasty. Imagine that. That really sucks, being nasty and evil and nasty. And then there's the white coat, which are succubuses. You don't just get 1 3 cup. Never mind. Buying up bus. I don't know. But and there's different factions within the white coat. So some of those feed off like sex stuff, like you would think of as a succubus. I can't say that word a day. What's the matter with this? Succubus. I can't say it. And others feed on fear, and other emotions. So they're like emotional vampires anyway, rather than blood-sucking, the big pointed teeth. So so that is just even one set of the monsters in there, has all these subsets and then subsets within those subsets. So there's a lot of serious world building in the Dresden Files, which I think is what makes it so addictive, to be honest with you, because it's layered upon layered upon layered. Again, with the fairies, the winter coat and the summer coat, and not just good and evil, which they kind of start off being, but then there's all these layers and layers and layers that makes it more and more interesting, and so that you get this real grey area with both, and some outstanding baddies like the Billy Goat Scruff. Oh, I fucking love them. They're fairies. They're like hitmen. Just love it. So and again with the wizards, there's like the Wizards Council, but then some things go bad with that, so they're not just the White Council, there's the Grey Council and the Black Council, but they're all like secret-y things. It's all, anyway, after that many books, there has to be some serious world building, otherwise it doesn't work and people don't keep buying them. I know Harry can be perverted sometimes, just put it out there, but then can't we all? Oh, speaking of being a giant pervert, Patrick Troughton would have been 100 this week. So, you know, if you know me, you know, I just love him. I just love him. Anyway, moving on. We'll get to the questions. There's not that many, but I just thought it would be a fun thing to do. I just thought if people are interested in my views or wanted us to talk about particularly geeky stuff, or, you know, that's not what happened. There's lots of versus questions, basically. But, I mean, what good geek doesn't like a versus question? So, the first one was from Skipper, and he said, who would win in a fight between Dr. Sam Beckett and Banana Man? Well, this brings up a whole lot of questions, doesn't it? One he brought up himself. What if Sam Beckett leaped into Banana Man? Would he still, like, leapt into Eric? Would he still be able to become Banana Man? Deep shit I wasn't expecting on a Friday morning, really. I mean, this is deep. Deep shit. Would Sam be animated? What if there was a live action Banana Man? What would Siggy think? Questions. But then immediately my head goes to what's he called, the actor? Oh, he's so beautiful. Who's Sam Beckett? What's he called? He's in Star Trek. He's so hot. And there's an episode of Star Trek where he's wearing tiny little pants. Are you with us? What's his fucking name? Stuart! What's his name? I can't even Google it because I'm talking to you on my Google phone. Google phone. Me Googler. The fun of all knowledge. What's his fucking name? Oh, it's gonna do me head. Anyway, so many questions. So many questions. But if it was an out straight fight, I mean, Sam would get his ass kicked, wouldn't he? Because he didn't have any. He didn't have any superpowers apart from the jumping one, doesn't he? So, banana man. Okay. I'm going to cough. Sorry, I do not have corona. Sally asks, if Superman doesn't eat and gets his energy from the sun, is he a plant? Sally, are you running short of food? That's the first question I want to ask you, because are you asking me if you can legitimately eat Superman? Is that what's going on here? You keep into a plant-based diet and you want to know if it's okay to eat Superman? I just think that maybe his isolation might be getting you a little bit. Especially after the second question you asked us about, is the reason the Bionic Man only has one bionic arm so that he doesn't, let's just say, hurt himself. If you only eat Superman, would you be a vegan? The Phillips. Oh dear God. These are the people I choose for friends. Richmond asks R2D2 or BB-8. Well, that's just easy peasy. It's R2D2. And if you wanted to know who would win in a fight between R2D2 and BB-8, R2D2. R2D2. Always. Yeah. Oh, he's cute, isn't he, the BB and that? But he's not R2D2, is he? Okay. Warwick asks, Nemesis the Warlock, goodie or baddie? Again, this brings up other questions. Why do you have to pigeonhole people? Why? Sometimes the grey area is where the best stuff lives, isn't it? Because you could ask the same question about Judge Dredd, couldn't you? Is Judge Dredd a goodie or a baddie? And some stories it would definitely be baddie, and some stories it would be goodie. I mean, sometimes he's a complete get. He really is a horrible person. And then the other times, I think the question needs to be, who would you want on your side? I would want Dredd on my side. I would want Nemesis to walk on my side. I wouldn't want Doctor Doom on my side. Fuck that. Who else would I not want on my side? Spider-Man? Is that controversial? He's very young. Like babysitting a little bit. I have teenagers in the house. My camera just fell over. You may have noticed. It was so horrified that I wouldn't want Spider-Man on my team that it just actually keeled over. We're not quite right now, are we? I'll move. I'm not touching it. Who else? Well, if we're going to do teams, that's a whole other question I haven't thought about either. But yeah, I'll call that answer. What else have we got? Shah asked if Doctor Who ended up in what if Doctor Who ended up in Mega City 1? And as I said, you might need a minimum of 13 different answers to this question, which, you know, obviously we're not going to do. We're not going to do. But I think it would be interesting, because that's basically another versus question, isn't it? Who would win in a fight between Doctor Who and Judge Dredd? And they're both tricksy, aren't they? They're tricksy little hobbitses. So I don't know who I would put my money on there, to be honest. I might put it on the Doctor. Because also, you know, going back to what I was saying before, is that sometimes Dread can be a complete get. And would you want Dread going up against our Doctor? Any of them? Even that one? No? You'd be on Doctor Who's side, wouldn't you? What would Doctor Who think of Mega City 1? I think it would make him slash her very sad, actually. The Mega City. I think, I mean, we've seen something like sort of like the Mega City in Doctor Who in New Earth, in New York, and that episode when they were stuck in the tunnels. Do you remember that one? And it's got Whittle Waffle in it as well. So those highways, motorways with stacks and stacks of cars had a very Mega City 1 feel to it, I thought. Don't know what you thought, but I definitely felt it. So I wonder, have we seen elements of Doctor Who in Judge Dredd? I think there has been. Did Al Ewan do something that was Doctor Who-y in Dredd? I can't remember now. Somebody will tell us. But I think there was something. But yeah, I think that if it was a versus, then I would want the Doctor to win. But doesn't mean I don't love Dredd. But yeah, I don't think the Mega City would make the Doctor happy. Doesn't seem like a very nice place to live. I certainly wouldn't want to live there. Anyway, moving on. Have I got another question? Oh yeah, my sister Kelly won the internet for me when she sent me this question. If there is no silicon heaven, where do all the calculators go? For those who don't know, that's a Red Dwarf reference. And immediately she sent us it. In my head, I got, goodbye, goodbye, wipe a tear, baby dear, from your eye. Love Red Dwarf. My whole family are massive Red Dwarf fans. I also called my replacement coffee pot Hudson 10. He didn't last long. It was not great. Anyway, that was it. If you have any burning questions you would like, oh, there's another one, but I'm going to get to that in the spinning section. So, if you have any burning questions you would like to ask me, if you have any topics you would like me to talk about, in the geeky bit in the middle, get in touch. There's a Facebook group that started, which is a virtual convention, and its name is something like Cancellation 2020. And if you are bored, it is well worth a look for the absolute nuttiness that's going on in there. Some really funny things, like all conventions, threads that you may not want to go on, and some really funny ones. So if I've got a minute, I keep going and having a quick look at that. Yeah, and speaking of conventions, after being so very excited to be going to my first convention in 2 years, obviously that's been cancelled now. That was Lawless in Bristol. They have not yet cancelled the flights or hotel, so we'll see what's going to happen about that, because I don't know, they might let us change the dates. The hotel group are allowing you to change it with no penalties up until the end of April at the moment, but the con was booked in May. So we'll just see what happens. In other sad news, I was due to go to Woolfest with the girls. I was really very much looking forward to that too, and that is also being cancelled now as well. So no Woolfest in July, no Lawless. I don't know what's happening about Glasgow Comic Con at the moment, which is due to go ahead in the beginning of July. Me and Iz had planned to go to that. I don't know. These are really sad things. They're very sensible things, don't get me wrong. They are very sensible, because who wants to put themselves in danger and stuff like that. But it still can't help feeling a bit of melancholy, sadness about it. You know, you get excited and you look forward to seeing your friends and all of that malarkey, and I was really excited. But such is life, really, isn't it? And you have to just get on with it. So we'll see what happens about Glasgow. I don't have a good feeling about it. I don't think it'll go ahead. Thought Bubble, I think, is still all guns blazers at the moment, so you know, that's definitely a possibility. I might just go for the day, which we've done before. Slightly more complicated now, it's in Harrogate, but if it goes ahead, maybe we'll get down for the day, but I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I'm glad they're all keeping us updated anyway, because the not knowing in this time has been the worst thing. I don't know what you think. I was still going into work until Friday, and at first they were telling us to work from home if we could, and then they wanted some of us to come in, and students were still using, I work in the university library, if you didn't know, students were still using the facilities very carefully and very sensibly most of the time. The university were good. We had gloves, we had hand gel, we weren't touching the books, we were gloved the whole time, and they were really great. And then it got to Friday and they decided that we had to shut. We're still working online. You know, we're trying to do as much online as possible. It's scary times, but until they actually decided, and we didn't know if you're going in the next day or not going in the next day, and travelling on the frankly packed metros really made me anxious. So once they made the decision, I felt like so much better. I think sometimes the waiting to find out what's going to happen is so much worse. So yeah, I applaud Lawless for making a hard decision and letting us know about it. So thank you. Thank you. So I have got some knitting to talk about. I did show you that I had one sock last week, and now I have really nearly down to the heel on this one. The pattern is called My Cup of Tea Socks, and I remember the yarn is a Third Vault yarn, and it's also a supernatural themed one. I remembered finally, but I can't remember its name, and it's something like Lucifer's Cage or something, which is obviously a supernatural reference. These needles are Zings, and they're awesome. I love double pointed needles for socks. I wouldn't knit socks any other way. I also prefer to knit socks. If you're a knitter, you tend to have a preference about these things. If you're a sock knitter, you either prefer to start at the toe and work your way back, or start at the cuff and work your way down, and that is my preference, and I prefer double pointed needles. The other way that you can do it, I haven't brought a long needle up, is to have a long needle. It's called Magic Loop. You have half your needles, stitches on one side of the loop and half them on the other, and you knit backwards and forwards with the long needle. Now, I just don't like that. It doesn't feel natural to me. When you knit on double pointed needles, they make a circle, and you just knit to the end of here, then knit to the end of here, and knit to the end of here, and carry on. And that to me makes absolute logical sense. I get it, you know. And that is my preference. And I absolutely am loving this colour. I love those little pops of red. And I just think that actually this pattern and this colour are a lovely combination. And I'm really looking forward to them being on my feet. Really nice. This is a free pattern on Ravelry. Ravelry, if you don't know, is a massive knitters and crocheters and spinners website. It has patterns, it has shops, it has forums still, which are all very used in this day and age. A forum when you can be on Twitter or Insta. I know. Crazy town. Yeah. So the pattern is free on Ravelry, and it's really nice, a really well written, very easy pattern to follow. This part, which is the only part, the only patterned part, the back is plain, just plain. So the pattern is here is both written and charted, so whichever you prefer. Usually I prefer charts, but actually I'm preferring the written for this one. Such as life, I cannot explain my madness to you, nor should you want me to. But it's just really lovely. So I've got the other one here, which is finished. Well, it's, you know, it's got the ends to weave in, but that's all. Oh, it's so nice, and it feels lovely. Anyway, so you can see the pattern goes right down, heel flap, and turn. The pattern goes right down to the toe and stops, but obviously blank on this side, so you're not walking on pattern, which is just lovely. Oh, they're beautiful. I'm so pleased with them. I might need to make another pair for my Isabel because she hasn't had socks for ages. You're friends with me, you get socks, that's what happens. Or shawls. I finished Ari's blanket. It's too absolutely massive to show you. I wish I could though, because I'm so fucking pleased with it. I can't even tell you. So it's a basic log cabin. It's not a pattern. It's just a basic log cabin. I can tell you what I did. So there is, say for example, one square. This bit is where you start in the middle. Cast on 22 stitches. Knit until you've got a square, which should be 22 rows. It's got a stitch, two rows make a garter ridge. The other way to tell is knit until when you fold it in half it makes a perfect triangle, then you know you've got a square. Maths, yo! Right, so then you cast off. Then you pick up 22 stitches along the top, knit for however many rows that you want to, cast off, pick up the 22 stitches plus however many rows. So say you did 5 rows, you'd pick up 22 stitches plus 5 and knit down there, and the same here, and then it would be 22 stitches plus 10 on the last side because you've got the 2 lots, and then you just carry on doing that round and round and round till you get bored, which is about this big for me. And then I did 4 of those, and when the 4 were all done, I sewed them together. I am not the best sewer person in the world, so but it was alright. You can't really see the seam too well, so it's great. Got a little bit iffy on the middle bit there, but then once I'd sewed all 4 big squares together, I did another massive log cabin block, but right across the 2 squares all the way around, so that I just brought it together a little bit, some, you know, and tidied up like these edges a little bit and stuff. And I was going to go around with a single crochet after I'd done that, but I didn't because I ran out of this purple wool. All of the wool is sock weight. I don't like to use the American term because it's fingering. And their sock weight wool comes in a light and a heavy fingering. 4-ply or sock weight is what you get from me. That's the British term. I'm sitting on my knees and it hurts. God, can I be going around saying fingering at people? I'm usually in enough trouble as it is. Anyway, my lovely friend Gillian asked me, and she was dead right, if there was memories knitted into this, and there absolutely was. For example, this one I think it was used in a shawl that I made my friend Sally. This was socks for Tala. This one was socks for my mum, etc, etc, and things even like this colourway was called Thor, that made socks for Dutton. Oh, that one, that's the other part of the shawl for Sally. This was a baby cardigan I made Ari. Alice doesn't like me knitting for her, so I don't. This was also a cardie for Ari. This was socks for my dad. This one I made, which is a superhero colourway with sparkle. Well, some of the first socks I made, which were for Tala when she was little, and I still had the little ball. So yeah, it's it's a really nice way to use your leftovers, and it's so squidgy. It's so squidgy and lovely that Dutton's asked if I can make one for our bed as well. So I've actually already started that. So it'll be at least a year long project. This one took about 8 months. Because I didn't knit it all the time because it's a bit boring, but when you want a bit boring, it's fabulous. Ari is so pleased with it. It's on our bed already. She's been dragging it around everywhere and crawling on the sofa with it, which is exactly what you want. Knitters like people to use the stuff they've knit them. It makes you so happy. I can't even tell you. I can't even tell you. So I'm super pleased with that. That's all I've got going at the moment. Started the new blanket, knitting the socks, thinking about a jumper still, but I really honestly haven't had time. It's just been crazy down here. I did bring these up and I was going to talk about spinning, but I'm running out of time now because I am using my husband's lunch hour and my lunch hour to do this. So he can childcare. So my lovely friend Gillian asked me to talk about spinning, and I really want to, but I think that actually I might do a dedicated episode, because I think just talking about it quickly in the last 10 minutes probably won't do it justice. I was going to try and show you how to get started with a spindle, because Alex was telling me that she doesn't really know what to do with it. Look at the poor bit. This has been dropped quite a lot. This beautiful, really expensive spindle been dropped quite a lot. So but I think I will do a separate video, and I'll do a how to get started with your spindle and the differences between spindle spinning and wheel spinning, and also some wills to look out for if you're a new spinner, which I do not class myself as I still class myself as quite a newbie spinner. But there are some tricks that I've learned. For example, avoid merino or silk if you're a new spinner. They're really difficult. Merino is very slippy, and it's not as it's harder when you're a bit slower. This one that I brought up to show you is Corriedale, and it's like a proper woolly wool, and it's sort of stickier, so you can see when I'm pulling it apart there, you have more time to work with it than merino, which is quite slick and pulls away really fast. So I'll do some like tips and stuff like that. I mean, there's loads of stuff on YouTube anyway, but if you want a friendly face that you know telling you about it, sometimes that's a little bit easier, isn't it, or more fun. So yeah, I think I'll do a separate episode if that's all right. So if you have any questions about spinning or knitting, I will do a dedicated, so I'm going to do a 2000 AD one, and I'm going to do a dedicated spinning and knitting one at some point. And while you're all stuck in the house, you may as well spend as much time as possible with me, because why wouldn't you? Okay, I'm going to wrap it up. I think that's it. You can find me if you fancy a chat on Twitter, on I'm Stace_W. I'm on Instagram as Whittle Waffle, and I'm on Facebook as well, so you can find me very easily. What I did not do at the start of any of my podcasts is introduce myself. I should have fucking done that, shouldn't I? I'm Stacey Whittle. It's too late now. Next time, I will introduce myself and maybe just tell you like what day of the week and date it is and that shit. Like somebody who's probably professional in that. Not sitting on the floor in the attic, hiding from our family. On that note, stay safe. I hope you're all well, and I hope to speak to you soon.